good. I've got 6 o'clock, folks. I'd like to call this May 6, 2025 meeting of the Henderson City County Planning Commission to order. I want to welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming. We do appreciate your help as we move through this business. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Thank you. David Dixon.
Here.
Kevin Richard.
Here.
Bobby Jarrett.
Here.
Mac Arnold.
Here.
XR Royster.
Here.
Dickie Johnson.
Here.
Gary Gibson.
Here.
Gray Hodge. Stacy Denton.
Here.
Kevin Herron.
Here.
Frank Boyette.
Here.
Heather Tays.
Here.
Very good. Do we have a quorum?
We do.
Excellent. Thank you. We have several public hearing items we need to attend to, so I'll entertain a motion to enter public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of entering public hearing, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Very good. So we are in public hearing. First order of business is approval of minutes from the April 1 meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes, say yes.
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 Any opposed? Minutes are approved. We're moving on to the 2025-26 fiscal year budget. Mr. Bishop, are you going to lay that one out for us?
Yes, sir. The total amount requested is $823,271.76. This is a decrease of $14,308.24, which is approximately a 2% decrease from last year's total of $837,580. We have budgeted a cost of living raise for the employees of 3%, and we have budgeted a potential 2% merit increase as well. We see a decrease in $4,569 for health insurance, which is approximately 4% less than last year. Professional services stay the same, roughly at $33,120. You'll notice a big change in capital outlay. We decreased that by $10,000. You may remember that we had requested that money to paint the Planning Commission vehicle. That has been done, so that is no longer needed. You will see small increases in items such as books, maps, insurance, and association dues. I don't want to bore you guys with too much detail. We sent the budget out roughly a month ago, so I will do my best to answer any questions that you have of the budget.
Commission, have any questions for staff regarding the proposed budget? Do we have anybody here with us this evening who'd like to discuss the proposed budget? I'm hearing no questions, no comments. We are how much less than last time?
We are roughly 2%, which equates to $14,308.24.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion in regard to the fiscal year budget as presented.
I make the motion to approve the budget that's presented.
Second.
So a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Kevin Richard.
Yes.
Bobby Jarrett.
Yes.
Mac Arnold.
Yes.
XR Royster.
Yes.
Dickie Johnson.
Yes.
Gary Gibson.
Yes.
Stacy Denton.
Yes.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Frank Boyette.
Yes.
Heather Tays.
Yes.
Very good. The budget has been approved. Now, the next item is a look at we've got a chapter of the comprehensive plan you're updating having to do with Interstate 69. Mr. Bishop, can you help us with that?
Yes, sir. The Planning Commission members may remember that staff and the Planning Commission itself met with TSW Design Group to work on the goals and objectives and the potential language that you see in front of you tonight. This would be included as Chapter 10 in the existing comprehensive plan. You may remember that we had 2 separate workshops with the Planning Commission, the Board of Commissioners, and the Fiscal Court. They have adopted the goals and objectives as required by KRS. So at this point, it's up to the Planning Commission to adopt the language that would be included in Chapter 10. At this point, staff would recommend approval and that the proposed chapter be included in the existing comprehensive plan.
Because the city and county has approved their portion of this.
Correct. They are required to approve the goals and objectives, and Mr. Crowley, please correct me if I'm wrong, then the Planning Commission itself adopts the language that you see before you tonight.
Okay, very good. Any questions from the commission for staff regarding the new chapter in the comprehensive plan? Do we have anybody with us this evening that has questions about the comprehensive plan or Interstate 69 or how these things will all work together? No questions, no comments? I'll entertain a motion in regard to the comprehensive plan update, adoption of chapter 10 as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the comprehensive plan update and adoption of the language that will be in chapter 15.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Heather Tays.
Yes.
Frank Boyette.
Yes.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Stacy Denton.
Yes.
Gary Gibson.
Yes.
Dickie Johnson.
Yes.
XR Royster.
Yes.
Mac Arnold.
Yes.
Bobby Jarrett.
Yes.
Kevin Richard.
Yes.
Good, motion passes. Moving on, next item in the public hearing portion of the meeting is proposal from Tag Towers LLC and Verizon Americas LLC. Mr. Bishop.
Yes, sir. Tag Towers LLC and Verizon Americas LLC have applied to the Planning Commission for approval to construct a new wireless communications facility on a site located in Henderson County at 636 7th Street, Cord, Kentucky. The latitude and longitude is 37 degrees, 43 minutes, 58.92 seconds. Longitude is 87 degrees, 42 minutes, 10.06 seconds. It has been a while since the Planning Commission has looked at or reviewed a cell tower. So staff has put a copy of the chapter of the Henderson County zoning ordinance that specifically deals with cell towers at your seat. The applicant is proposing a 199-foot cell tower and the related improvements such as radio equipment. The nearest residential structure is 251.42 feet from the nearest corner of the cell tower, with a second residential structure 321.14 feet from the nearest corner. Staff has reviewed the application, and to the best of our knowledge, it meets the requirements as outlined in the Henderson County zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan. With that, I believe there's a representative from Pike Legal who will add greater detail to the application.
Very good. Any questions from the commission at this point for staff? Okay. You have-
Chairman, I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yes, by all means, go ahead.
This is down in my neck of the woods, and I'm concerned about how close it is to the two houses. I know it's 250 and 360 feet, but looking at the land that they're proposing to put the tower on, it looks like there's ample space to move it further away from the road. And so I was curious if that was something they had looked into and if that was a possibility.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have anybody here that might field that questions from Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman, I'm Keith Brown with Pike Legal Group.
To the microphone here, please.
Sure.
Your
I can
name.
address the question.
I need your name,
Keith Brown,
address.
Pike Legal Group, P.O. Box 369, Shepherdsville, Kentucky, 40165.
Very good. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. How can you help us with the Commissioner's question?
With the question, we have a situation where the cellular tower companies don't have condemnation power. We have to negotiate with a landowner, and this is where the negotiations led, was to put the tower where it's shown in the drawings, and that is what our lease is for. So we didn't really have an opportunity to put the tower on some other property or some other place.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us at this point about this project?
I do have a presentation. I'll try to keep moving through it and try not to take up too much time. But my client's very excited about this proposal.
The clicker should be right there, should be ready to go. If you'll test it.
Let me follow up on your answer to her question.
Yes, sir.
You got a tract of ground that's blocked off, correct?
Well, we've got a lease area. My clients have a lease area that they leased from the owner.
But you're saying that in your negotiations, you leased a tract of ground. And in that tract of ground, you have to put that cell tower exactly where you're putting? Couldn't you put it anywhere on that piece of property that you got leased?
Well, we would have, all we have leased is that square, that 100 by 100 foot square and the access road. We don't have rights on the entire property at all, okay?
Yeah.
And So what we do with these regulations, and the people who work for Verizon and TAG, what they do is that they look at your own regulations, and we meet the setbacks. There's nothing in your regulations that requires this tower to be anywhere else. So this was the option we have with the landowner. That's where we've leased it. And it meets with your regulations. We've met the setbacks.
Question, if it was moved just to the back of that square, closer to the back property line of that square, does that meet, or satisfy the interests of?
Well, there's a square lease area where it is located as shown on our drawings, and where the tower is located in that meets the setbacks.
Okay, well, I understand that, but if you have that whole, that's a 100-foot square area,
Yeah,
if it was, my concern is, I guess, and that was, with Heather that asked the question about that, is moving it back, which would gain another 50 feet or so from the other properties. Does that help out any in the concerns?
well, there would be quite a bit of cost of changing the engineering and the drawings and that, but that's my client's concern.
Yeah.
But, the other issue that you start looking into is there's still going to be a tower
Yeah.
that people can see,
All right.
okay?
Is this a tubular tower?
This one is called a lattice tower. I think when you
Lattice,
say
okay.
tubular, you mean a monopole.
Yeah,
But
yes.
this is a lattice
Okay.
tower.
So it may have a larger base than the top, right?
Yeah, there's plenty of lattice towers in Henderson
Yeah.
County, but it's a lattice tower, and, people can see the tower, whether it's where it's proposed or if it was moved 50 feet, they could still see it. But these towers are everywhere, and we comply with your regs, and, you have to balance the improved wireless service, which I'll talk about here when we go through the presentation.
Okay.
Now, you said the tower is how tall?
Tower's 195.
And you,
With a
how
lighting
far
arrestor.
from the two houses?
Well,
200 feet?
The closest one is 251 feet, which meets your setback requirements.
Okay.
Commissioner Gibson, if you can see on your monitor, there's a leader that shows the 251 feet.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to know, make sure the tower would not fall on the house, if it fell. And most times, them type of tire, they crumble instead of fall.
We think that's what would happen. This is designed by engineers. We've had a full geotech study, which is in the record that we filed. You'll see on the very first page of the engineer stamped drawings that it shows that the engineers have stamped that this complies with all the relevant building codes. Frankly, if one of these towers fell, which we don't think there's any chance that it would, my clients would have liability, tremendous liability. They're not going into this with the idea of a tower falling.
And if you
You know,
move
when
back
we-
to the back of the lot, then you would have to add a whole lot more driveway to get to it.
Well, that is, that you've got you would get long gravel driveways,
Yeah.
and, you might find somebody else in another adjoining property who thought it was too close to them. There are issues that come up. Some people have some concerns about looking at towers, but there are dozens and dozens of towers in Henderson County, and, Verizon has the right to be treated as just like any other wireless carrier, and.
Well, where that located, it's nothing but farm ground right there.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
two
and-
houses that's closest, and the rest of that, in the back is farm ground.
And of course, who knows if it will always be farm ground, but
You
it's,
never know.
but it's important right now that this is zoned agricultural. The property that this tower is on is zoned agricultural. So there are an awful lot of things that could be done on that property. A cell tower is just one of them. But, you know, if individuals buy houses, buy properties for residential use that adjoins an agriculturally zoned property, you know, you can't just expect that nothing will happen on that property, because there's a lot of ag authority, and there are other things that can be put on ag property as well.
Any other questions at this point for this gentleman?
I was going to propose we let him complete his presentation
Yeah.
and then answer questions from there.
I would agree.
I'll be glad to. Okay, I'm back at the front slide here. Anyway, all these cell sites have names. Cypress Creek, the name is generally chosen by, it's related to something in the area. You know, I'm here and I've got an appraiser with me, Mr. Glenn Katz, who's a highly credentialed appraiser, and I would just ask him to step forward and to swear to tell the truth.
Yes, I need your name, sir.
Glenn Katz. All right, Glenn Katz,
Spell that, please.
K-A-T-Z, I'm sorry, one in on the Glenn, K-A-T-Z.
Thank you.
Your address?
I'm with the Realty Solutions Company, Post Office Box 20983, Louisville, 40220. 40250.
Would you get close to the microphone?
I can repeat that if need.
You good?
Thank you.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
I do.
Very good, thank you.
Just a couple of questions of Mr. Katz. Mr. Katz, you prepared a property valuation report in relation to this site, is that correct?
In determining impact of tower structures on value, yes.
And do you adopt that report, which is filed of record here, do you adopt that as your testimony today?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. So we've filed all the exhibits that are required by the Kentucky Revised Statutes, and I think Mr. Bishop is well aware of how many exhibits are required to be filed with a cell tower application per statute. We followed all the procedural guidelines as far as mailing out notice. We've waived confidentiality on this application. Anybody can come into your office and look at the application, and they could have done that before the hearing. We filed a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. It was filed today. I also have binders to pass out. Joe, could you pass out the binders to the commission members, which includes materials that are already in the administrative record? And I guess Glenn can help out.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And I think everything in that binder has previously been filed with record, except there may be a radio frequency emissions analysis memorandum that's not previously with record, but maybe those materials will be helpful to you tonight. The proposed site location is in unincorporated Henderson County. You'll see the little thumbtack, the yellow thumbtack, as that's where it is. And this shows more of the actual location. Of course, the thumbtack is where the tower actually is. It is sort of south of Corbin in the unincorporated part of the county. Tower design, 190-foot, 5-foot tower with 4-foot lightning arrestor. There's a fence compound, 80 by 80, within the 100 by 100 foot lease area. It's protected by a 7-foot tall chain link fence. It meets all structural standards that are applicable in Kentucky, and it also allows the co-location of additional equipment. The ground compound can contain the equipment of additional co-locators. This tower has Verizon Wireless as an anchor tenant, but also remember that Tag Towers is going to build and own the tower, and they have a powerful incentive to bring other carriers onto that tower as well, whether it be AT&T, T-Mobile, what other carriers are active in the area. But this is the type of tower, and you'll see it's not the tube type, the monopole, it's the lattice tower. This shows a bit of the site plan. It meets those very important setback requirements. 123 feet from the nearest property line. Residential structure setback, 251.42 feet from the nearest residence. And when our people are looking for a site, all they have to go on really is your regulations. And that's how they've designed this site to fit into compliance with your regulations, your setback regulations. And so we end up with a compliant design. Radio frequency need. Buried in the administrative record is a report from a Verizon wireless radio frequency engineer. That report is expert testimony, which is very important in the federal law of telecommunications site under the Federal Telecommunications Act. Basically, Verizon Wireless has found they have a significant service gap in this area that's sort of in Corydon and south of Corydon. In that area, there's a significant gap in wireless coverage. To fill the gap, there's really only a couple of things we can do. We have to get the tower in the search area. The search area is a 0.5 mile sort of circular radius in that area, and we have to build it to the specified elevation. We can't build a 20-foot tower, that's not going to work. So the engineers have settled on this 195 foot. You'll see the red circular line that shows the search area for this site. The actual coverage of the built tower will go well beyond that 0.5 mile search area. So this is the red circle is just where the tower needed to be. We needed to find a willing and available landlord in that area. It's not, that's not the total coverage. The coverage is well more than the red area. And as the radio frequency engineer report says, I mean, this is designed to improve coverage in Corydon. I know that's just a little city in Henderson, but Verizon is trying to fill in all the gaps. You know, these towers don't cover like half a county or anything like that. They cover a certain area, and Verizon is constantly searching on ways to improve coverage. The site selection report is of record. If we could find another nearby tower to put this equipment on, we would do it because it's much cheaper, it's easier, it would be good planning. We don't have to go through all the exhibits and drawings of an application. It's just much easier. But that's just not an option as the report shows. So we had to have a new site in the search area. There were no existing cellular towers in the search area. There is a water tower, but the radio frequency engineer report shows that it's quite a bit too short. It just would not work. Sometimes that is an option, but not with this situation. If you put tower, I mean, obviously there are lots of other towers in Henderson County, but if you tried to put extra antennas on those other towers, maybe owned by AT&T or whoever, that's not going to solve the problem from this area around Corydon. You know, that's too far away. We need a tower in this search area and at this location to solve the gap in coverage. The site vendors for tag towers have looked around at other parcels. Obviously, we're not going to put a tower on a small residential parcel. It couldn't meet setbacks. We sure try to avoid putting a tower in flood zones because that creates all kinds of problems of potential damage or access in a flood. And Lord knows in Kentucky we've seen enough floods in the last couple of months. I know where I'm from in Shepherdsville we've seen it, so we stay away from flood zones. The report shows that multiple landowners were contacted and they did not express an interest, but the landowner we selected did. So it's the most suitable and available site to resolve the coverage problem. Property values. Under statutes, property value questions are not a basis to deny a cell tower. There's nothing in Kentucky law that would allow that, nothing in the local ordinance that would allow that, and federal law would not allow that. Now, we introduced Mr. Katz, and we mentioned his report. And he has all the appraisal credentials in the world, basically. And he's done extensive studies on the effects of cell towers on property values. And his ultimate conclusion is that facilities of this type have not and do not adversely influence the value of properties in the immediate or general area. Now, that is expert testimony, and that has frankly great value for the purposes of federal law, Telecommunications Act law that governs this proceeding. And we'll talk briefly about the federal telecommunications law. You know, I've litigated these cases for years. I could go on and on and on. TJ and I could discuss these issues endlessly, but life is short, and I won't, go on and on. I can tell you that under the federal law, lay opinion is not substantial evidence. Unsupported opinion, general expressions of concerns with aesthetics are not substantial evidence. Claims that the tower is unsightly is not substantial evidence. General concerns that the tower is ugly or unwanted near an individual's residence are not sufficient. Anyone in their backyard could claim that a tower they can see would be bad for the community, not aesthetically pleasing, or is otherwise objectionable. However, these court cases I've cited here, Selco Partnership, federal court case in Kentucky, T-Mobile, a Sixth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals case, support all these propositions I've stated. So there's limited discretion here. It's very important under federal law that planning commissions consider the expert testimony and make their decision based upon their own local regulations, because that is what is considered substantial evidence, not just various people's just opinions, but expert opinion and your local regulations are very important. So going beyond that federal law, we always like to mention the National Health Interview Survey that talks about just the overwhelming use of cell phones in this country. 86% of all children live in households with only wireless phones. So that's why this coverage is important, okay? People need their cell phones, whether they're in downtown Henderson, downtown Indianapolis, or whether they're sitting out somewhere near Corydon driving their car and have had a car wreck and are trying to call 911 or something. This coverage is important. People are overwhelmingly using cell phones rather than landlines. Henderson deserves the best coverage. Corydon deserves the best coverage. The unincorporated area of Henderson County deserves great coverage. We think we filed an application that complies with all federal, state, and local law, and we appreciate you hearing us out. I would like to reserve some time. If anyone speaks in opposition, I would like to have the chance to respond. But otherwise, I ask for you to improve the uniform application so we can improve coverage in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the chairman at this point from the commission? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I got one.
Oh, by all means.
Now, we had got a tower about 3 miles outside the Card and Smith Mill, the AT&T on that. And we get good AT&T service, but as you said, we don't get good Verizon service at all. But we had got an AT&T tower within 3 miles of the town.
Oh, okay.
But they're on the north side, where this here is on the south side.
Well, I can tell you that Verizon has an agreement with AT&T to locate on their towers, and AT&T also has the ability to locate on Verizon towers. So although these companies compete like the Dickens in retail, they cooperate to get these coverages on these towers. So, it's great that AT&T's service improved on the north side, but remember, this is targeted to this particular area.
And kind of like you said, they only go out so far.
Yes, sir.
You got to have tires within that limit where if you own that type of service.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments? Thank you, sir. We may need you. Come back. Anyone else like to speak in favor of this project this evening? Do we have anybody here this evening who'd like to speak in opposition or might have some questions, further questions that they'd like to have answered? Yes, sir, by all means.
My name's,
Where do you get?
okay. My name's Larry Whitlock, and my property's 622 7th Street, where the tire location right beside it.
Very good. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Very, thank you. Go ahead.
I have 3 small kids, and this is a very concerning thing that's going to happen, sounds like. And, you know, me and my wife's got a bunch of questions, and, you know, about the health risks of it and things. And then, you know, kids playing and stuff. And I just don't understand why this tire's got to be right there. You know, Mr. Thomas owns property around the corner on 145. Why can't it sit out there in a field that's no houses around at all, you know? And then, you know, I drove around Henderson on, you know, the south side of Henderson. There's other cell phone tires that sit out there that's nowhere near close as this cell phone tire is going to be towards my house and the Smith's house. You know, our concerns are, you know, the property value of our house goes down, you know. You know, I Googled it, it's like 15 to 20,000 property value goes down because the cell phone tires right there. And you know, our view out of our house, I mean, it's a nice view, sit on back porch, you see wildlife and stuff. Now we're gonna sit on back porch and see a cell phone tire. It's, you know, a big eyesore to you. And that's about all I got to say. And I got one more question, I'm sorry. But we plan on building a garage, just like at the end of our driveway. Just wondering how is that going to affect the zoning of a garage at the end of the driveway on the 622? Is that going to be in the location of the tire? You know, are we going to be denied to build there, or what?
Okay, well, let me see if I understand what your questions are. The first one had to do with, you mentioned some type of health risk?
Yes, the health risk.
Okay. And you mentioned there might be other more suitable locations, you think?
Yes, sir. There's, you know, Mr. Thomas owns a lot of ground around there to the, you know, going to Little Dixie. There's a road, you know, goes around the corner. He owns some ground to the left there. And like y'all asked about moving this tire to the very back of the property, you know, I mean, why couldn't it go way back there in the back of the property instead of right there on 2 houses?
Okay. And then there was a question about the view from your just general appearance.
Yes.
And
the views of it, you know.
And the possibility of you adding a structure and how that might be affected.
Yes. And then our property value, you know.
Right, property value. Okay. Anything else, sir?
No, I believe that's all, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Well, we're going to try to get these questions addressed, but by all means. Your name, sir?
Scott Smith,
And your address?
644 7th Street, Gordon, Kentucky.
Okay. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
I have the same concern with the location of the cell phone tower. It just meets minimum requirements. It could be further back. I'm going to look out my kitchen window at this thing every day. It is in line of sight directly to the back, to the corner of Larry's property there. And I just think it could be further back in that field. I mean, if it was further back, there's nothing back there. There's no residential houses. You wouldn't be able to see it from my kitchen window. So that's my biggest concern.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Anyone else here this evening would like to add to the conversation?
I would, sir. Good evening.
Your name?
My name is Megan Smith. I live at 644 7th Street, Gordon, Kentucky.
Okay. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Good.
I just have 2 small points. I would like to propose that you amend setbacks and distances for future tower constructions in the county so that other residents don't have to compete with these businesses in such a way, you know, you won't be able to, we won't be able to make any changes, I don't think. You know, we're kind of resigned to that. But I would like for future residents to not have to, you know, kind of fight with this, so.
Do you have an amendment in mind?
I don't, but I could come back with a proposal for that if that was something that.
Ms. Smith, the minimum requirement is 250. What would Any ballpark number based on that you would
So,
recommend?
250 would be from Mr. Whitlock's property, is that correct? He would be the closest.
251.42 from your residence.
Okay. So I guess if I were going to put a number out there just real quickly, I mean, I would, reasonably, I would think, at least double that or triple that. Because as it is now, it is directly in Mr. Whitlock's backyard. Also, there was a point made that there was ample vegetation that would help conceal the tower. I disagree with that. The tower is going to be in a barren field, as you see. There is no vegetation except on my property line to conceal or provide any kind of, visual improvement to that. So it's going to be, I believe it's a chain link fence, lattice tower. So, we're trying to improve our community. And I don't know that an eyesore like that is something that we're looking at. That's all. Thank you.
Anything else, ma'am? Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to add to this? Okay. I think we're going to need your help again, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to respond. I appreciate the citizens' comments. Everybody has a right to make comments here tonight, but it does become important what the law actually is on these matters. And I guess there's different interpretations on what is improving the community. TAG and Verizon Wireless think they are improving the community by providing good cell coverage in this area. Think about how many people make 911 calls, emergency calls through their cell phone that they couldn't get through any other way. So we believe we're improving the community as well. Now, the health risk issue, we don't believe there's any health risk from this tower that will accrue to the neighboring properties. And I have to state that both federal law, including the Federal Telecommunications Act, Kentucky state law, and your local ordinance prohibit this planning commission from making decisions on the radio frequency emissions effects of a cellular tower. So that's not in your jurisdiction. That's in the jurisdiction of the Federal Communications Commission in Washington. With cell towers, local planning commissions have a limited amount of jurisdiction. And I don't believe personally, but I'm not an engineer, that there's going to be any health effects whatsoever. One of my crazy hobbies, I'm a ham radio operator, so my backyard is full of antennas, transmitters in my house, so I'm not worried about it. But importantly, there is no jurisdiction of this board to deny this tower based upon allegations of health risk. With the location, we've complied with your regulations. We've met the setbacks, and that's about all we can do. We've looked to your ordinance for our guidance on placing this tower. There's nothing that requires it to be anywhere else, to be at the back of this property, or to keep moving it around. This is the site that's been selected and leased and proposed. Property values were mentioned, but of course there's the expert report of Mr. Katz that is in this record that makes a conclusion that there's not an adverse effect on property values from cell towers. So you look at the federal law, lay testimony cannot be relied on this property value issue. Expert testimony says there will be no negative effect on property values. The view has been mentioned by a couple of the neighbors. Well, I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but nothing in the ordinance or nothing in Kentucky state law creates any situation where you can deny a cell tower application based upon aesthetics. And in fact, there's a very important federal district court case called Selco Partnership versus Franklin County in the Eastern District of Kentucky, in which the court extensively discussed the idea of aesthetic effects and rejected that aesthetic effects could be a basis for denial of a cell tower. So that's just the law that we operate under, and we would ask that you comply with this law so we can greatly improve cell coverage in the area of Corridon and the area south of Corridon. And again, I appreciate that neighbors have comments, but there are many cell towers already in Henderson County, and it's a part of life and part of technology. So we ask you to approve the uniform application.
I think there was a question about some type of vegetated screen. What does the ordinance call for?
Well, we have our landscaping at the base of the tower. That's part of our design, so we've complied with that.
Okay.
Now, there are certain trees in the area here along certain property lines, but that's not that's not on our lease area. But we are complying with the vegetation requirements in your ordinance.
Page P4 there shows vegetation.
Thank you.
But you take something 195 feet high, you ain't gonna hide that.
I'll have to agree with you on that, sir. It's a for real structure, but at ground level, your ordinance have provided us with certain vegetation requirements, and we've complied with them.
But that farmer, I agree, that farmer got a whole lot of land there. If they got one on the other side of the railroad track, he got all that land, know it. But y'all decide, what land you want. But that would been outside the city limit on that side.
Well, we've got to look at what's best for our
Yeah.
radio frequency coverage and what the landlord was willing to lease to it. Again, we don't have condemnation power in the cellular industry. We have to reach an agreement. This is the agreement we've reached. We've got a compliant site. I believe Mr. Bishop did not indicate that there was anything non-compliant under your regulations about this proposal. So I don't see what else, an applicant could have done except follow your proposal. We looked at the comprehensive plan too, and your comprehensive plan doesn't discuss cell towers, and it doesn't provide any limitations on cell towers. We just looked at your zoning regulations, which is all we could do.
Thank you. A question for our own attorney, counsel. Ms. Gilman has described, it seems to me that we are prohibited in some fashion in these kind of cases from certain considerations that we might apply in others. Is that safe to say that this Federal Telecommunications Act has extra constraints that have been described?
Yes. And some of those are not in our purview, our power, our jurisdiction to remedy. That they're reserved to the federal
Okay.
and dealt with.
Ms. Gilman's characterization of the situation, you would agree with?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Bishop, there was a question about a gentleman wanting to add another structure. Is there anything going on here that would prevent him from building the garage wherever he wants to?
Mr. Chairman, I would probably defer to Mr. Tassa, the county codes administrator. But my understanding of the ordinance as it currently is written is that it would be more than the 250 feet required in the zoning ordinance. So off the top of my head, I think that would be allowed because if I remember correctly, the distance was 321 feet. So he has roughly 70 feet to work with. Randy, would you agree with that?
Let me hear from, yes, your name, sir?
Randy Tassa, 1990 Bear Court, Sweet
Thank you. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I think the question was, is future construction on a neighboring parcel somehow affected by?
The ordinance reads 250 foot from residential structure, which would be a residence. So that would not prohibit them from building a detached garage.
No outbuilding to consider.
No,
Yeah, but he could put an outbuilding right there at the back, then the boundary, that would be closed.
The 250 foot from residential structure, which is not defined under that section, but when you look at residential structure, it's a residence.
So a garage on a lot, it's not going to be considered a residential?
We define structure in our zoning ordinance They do not define residential structure. If you look up residential structure, it typically
Has
means
to be livable space in
like a
that.
residence.
Randy, does it matter if it's detached or?
That detached would be, if it's attached, it'd be considered part of the
If
house.
it's attached, it'd be a part of the residence.
Yes. And then it has to be at least half, the tower was a question earlier about moving to the back of that property, the square there that they're leasing. And it has to be half of the height from the property line in the release area. And so, if the tower's 195 foot, it has to be that almost 100 foot from that fenced-in area, the lease boundary. So they would not be able to move it to the back of that little square that they're leasing.
Randy, hypothetical question, I suppose. If Mr. Whitlock were to come in and request a permit for the detached garage, would there be any issue from the code with issue?
Not from a local standpoint, no.
Okay. Okay, I think we made that clear to everybody's satisfaction. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else here this evening like to pose questions in this regard, one way or the other? Does the commission have any further questions for staff or the applicant or their representatives? Have we been able, have we attempted to answer everybody's questions? Okay. If there are no further questions or comments, I think we need to talk about a possible motion in regard to the Tag Towers LLC and Verizon Americas LLC proposal.
Okay, I got one question. When it comes to cell towers, how much authority have we got? We done been through this a couple times.
The Planning Commission may approve, disapprove, or take no action on the request for a cell phone antenna tower. Right here.
Because we had, you said you worked for, could you come back up real quick? The firm you work for, who?
Is Pike Legal Group. David Pike is my boss.
We had Pike here
Yes.
a bunch of time, and we attend his classes, and he had talked about the cell towers before. So, how much authority do we have when it comes to cell tower, federal?
I think you gotta keep it at least 250 feet.
Was this the primary site or the secondary site selection? You said you reached out to several property landowners. Was this the initial primary site?
Our site acquisition vendors talked to a number of different landowners. Many of them didn't respond or didn't want a cell tower, and so this was the option. This was the selected option. It's not secondary. We talked to a lot of people, but this was selected.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
Was a distance further away from the road even brought up with the property owner?
Please.
I don't know every detail of any discussions. I know that this is the site that has been leased and that your regulations don't require a cell tower application or site to be located anywhere else. Once we meet the exhibit requirements and the setback requirements that the Planning Commission has adopted, we think we have a compliant site. So this is what is being proposed, where the drawings show.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have one more question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And I'm not sure if it would be for Brian or for TJ, but is it within our purview to make a motion that asks them to go back and speak with the landowner about negotiating a position further away from the houses and from the road?
I suppose it would be within your purview to ask, but they've met our regulations. It would not be within our purview to require them to do that.
Okay, I understand, thank you.
Other questions or comments?
I think if people have concern, we can't do it on this one, but in the future, we can amend our regulations to require, 500 feet, if that's what we want, or whatever, from property lines, or from residential structures, as a possibility, for whatever you want to use. But I don't know if we have any control over this one.
Commissioner Arnold?
Yes.
Is that a direction to staff to pursue that?
Well, I'm just going to say that's something we could, if everyone is interested in wanting to extend that distance, then that would be what we would probably have to do, would not we?
After we take action.
Yeah, we have to take that.
Okay. Counselor?
I have a strong recommendation that we not have that discussion in this hearing, but we could do it later in this meeting or at another meeting and put it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to share anything?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'm not here for this.
Okay, thank you.
Would you mind?
Yes.
Use your name,
Timothy Pointer,
your address.
11064 Campbellsburg Road, Bedford, Kentucky, 4006.
If you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, I've been through this scenario already, and even concerns for the people that live there, as far as the children. Had one put on my property on 660 acres in Trumbull County. I look out, and my grandchildren has already dug under the fence and was around the site. So I guess my questions are, does this come with anti-dig panels and a ground fault to each panel of the 7-foot fence is installed? Because that's what they had to come out and do.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
That's it.
Okay, thank
Thank
you. Sir, can you address that, please?
I appreciate the question. The fencing and is as shown on the drawings that we've submitted. I'm not sure whether there's an anti-dig panel underneath each part of the fence or anything like that. I can tell you that we're going to comply with all building code regulations and building the fence, that type of thing. And if there's any additional input of anything else that someone is suggesting that be done with the fence, I can take it back to my client and we will consider that. But what we're proposing is what the drawings show. But my clients, every bit of their interest is having a secure facility. And obviously kids don't need to be digging under the fence, but that could be true of a lot of things that kids don't need to be doing. But that's why we have the fencing, is for security of the fence as best we can.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to add to this? Yes, sir.
Hello, Jonathan Dixon,
Okay, your address?
3887 Trick Turner Road, Court, Kentucky.
Okay, you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yes.
I do have a question. I didn't plan on speaking on this, but hearing through the proposal, would it not be within the purview of the commission to table such an item to address any concerns that may be with the ordinances or the cell phone ordinances that are in play right now? Would it not be within the purview of the commission to table and for further discussion via concerned citizens and areas such as this.
Council, is that something that we could consider, or what would be the result?
You certainly could consider it, but I suggest you also consider what you're going to gain by that and have discussion with the applicant.
That's all. That's all. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
We have an ordinance.
Okay.
We can get
Further discussion. What is the pleasure of the commission? Does staff have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, at this point, staff would have to recommend approval based on it meeting the local zoning ordinance requirements.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I'll for a motion for approval of Tag Towers LLC and Verizon Americas LLC on approval to construct a new wireless communication facility at the site located in Henderson County at 636 7th Street, Corydon, Kentucky.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion by the commission? The motion is to approve the proposal, correct?
Yes.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Kevin Richard,
Yes.
Bobby Jarrett,
Yes.
Mac Arnold,
Yes.
XR Royster,
Yes.
Dickie Johnson,
Yes.
Gary Gibson,
No.
Stacy Denton,
Yes.
Kevin Herron,
No.
Frank Boyette,
Yes.
Heather Tays,
No.
Thank you all very much. The motion passes. I've got 7-3.
that's correct.
Very good. Moving on, we're now dealing in public hearing with rezoning 1176 with a narrative development plan. Ms. Marks, I think, is going to take that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rezoning 1176 with a narrative development plan submitted by Brad Hazelwood and Jonathan Dixon for the property located in the city of Henderson at 1800 Clay Street, a portion of PID 56-60 containing approximately 10 acres. The applicants have submitted a zoning change map amendment with a narrative development plan to rezone from city agricultural to light industrial M1. So if you guys will look in your packet there, on page 23, you will see the application that was submitted. For this, again, something else to point out, we are requesting the rezone for a portion of the parcel. So if you look at the screen here, you'll see the lime green area. That is the full parcel. The portion that we are considering today is going to be what's in that, in this little section right here, the 10 plus or minus acres. The narrative development plan does point out that the proposed use is the office location for fence pros as well as their laydown area. This rezoning will be subject to a subdivision plat as well as an engineered site plan that will come back to you all at a later date. I do have findings of fact in front of you, and then I can read into the record whenever you guys are ready for that.
Okay. Access to this is off of Clay Street, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
We are just east of is it railroad tracks.
Yes.
And are we going to end up with one portion of this parcel zone one thing and the other portion zone something else?
No, so that is part of the subject to a subdivision plat. So if you all do decide to rezone, or recommend rezoning this portion, it's going to be back here of that 10 acres. That would be subject to subdividing that 10 acres off. The applicants are both here and can answer questions, but I believe the future plan is that they would consolidate it to, it's hard to see, but this is actually its own parcel right here. It is currently zoned M1. So they would subdivide off the 10 acres here and consolidate it into this here once it's all M1.
So Jennifer, you mentioned the subject, what was another subject to
An engineered site plan.
Engineered stuff.
I don't know for sure that the floodplain, but if you're aware of this area, a lot of this is in the floodplain. And so the 10 acres that we're talking about here is a portion that's not in the floodplain. But because of its location, drainage, and things like that, would need to be considered, which is why we would suggest that engineered site plan.
Okay, Counselor?
It would be subject to your approval of an engineered site plan, not just preparing. That's, I know that's what you meant, but it's important.
Thank you, good point. Now, perhaps it would be good to go ahead and read the proposed findings of fact.
Rezoning 1176 with a narrative development plan submitted by Brad Hazelwood and Jonathan Dixon for the property located in the city of Henderson at 1800 Clay Street, a portion of parcel ID number 56-60 containing approximately 10 acres. The applicants have submitted a zoning change map amendment with a narrative development plan to rezone from city agricultural to light industrial. A proposed motion could be, I move that the Planning Commission recommend that the Board of Commissioners, the city, approve rezoning application 1176, changing the zoning classification from agricultural to light industrial with a narrative development plan, limiting the use of the 10-acre property to fence rows, office space, and laydown yard, and with any changes coming back to the Planning Commission in the form of a rezoning for approval. And I'll leave the motion open for other members of the Planning Commission to add findings of fact in support of this motion because the proposed rezoning is not in agreement with the future land use map of the comprehensive plan. However, the proposed use is in agreement with other elements of the current comprehensive plan. When the location is ideal for this development near the train tracks, meeting goal 1, balancing land uses of the comprehensive plan, wisely plan for land uses in appropriate locations to maximize quality design and minimize the adverse impacts of development. 2, the development provides positive use for the portion of this parcel that does not fall within the existing floodplain. Meeting goal 1, protecting natural systems of the comprehensive plan, protect and enhance the quality of the natural environment while permitting appropriate development on suitable lands. And the rezoning will be subject to the submittal of the subdivision plat and an approved engineered site plan.
Okay, and
That subject to needs to be up in the motion. I would put it after the fourth line, after yard, after the comma. Put the subject to there.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well,
Not a finding, part of condition.
okay. And that's also, that last substitute, it should not be substitute the submittal of a subdivision plat, but the approval of.
Yes.
So the word submittal becomes approval. And then all the subject twos go in where? Lay down yard, okay. Is everybody clear on these changes? Okay. Anybody else here this evening like to speak in favor of this project? Anyone here that might have questions about it or some qualms they'd like to bring forward? I think we've already got you on the record.
You got me on the record already. Just in favor, and to answer any questions that any of the commission members may have about this zoning request.
Okay. Any questions for this gentleman from the commission? Okay, not at this point, sir. Thank you, though. Okay. Anyone else here want to speak to this? Any other questions from the commission for staff or anyone else? If not, I'll entertain a motion in regard to rezoning 1176 with a narrative development plan.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, I'm sorry.
before the motion's made, the subject to the rezoning, the rezoning subject to the approval of the subdivision plan and the approval of an engineer's site plan.
Okay. Everybody clear on those that wanted the additional change? we're inserting approval twice into that sentence. Okay, good. Thank you. What's the commission's pleasure in regard to rezoning 1176?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt this proposed motion as my final motion, including the edits to the subject to, as pointed out by council, changing to approval of subdivision plat and approval of an engineering site plan after the laid iron yard.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Heather Tays,
Yes.
Frank Boyette,
Yes.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Stacy Denton. Yes. Gary Gibson.
Yes.
Dickie Johnson.
Yes.
XR Royster.
Yes.
Mac Arnold.
Yes.
Bobby Jarrett.
Yes.
Kevin Richard.
Yes.
Very good, motion passes. I think that concludes the business assigned to our public hearing. I will entertain a motion to leave public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, very good. We are out of public hearing. First item in the non-public hearing portion is the April finance report. Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In front of you is the April financials, April 2025 financials. We're currently at 78% of our budget. And I'm here today to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions in regard to the April finance report from the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion in that regard.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to approve, is that correct? Motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor of approval of the April finance report as submitted, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Very good, the finance report is approved as submitted. Next item is the bond report. Mr. Marks, I think.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have two items up for renewal this month. Canoe Creek 2, Section 3, that's the kayak lane extension there. The recommendation is that there's still one lot left to develop, so we will extend out the roadway bond. It will remain the same for a year. The sidewalk bond can be decreased to $7,586. The second project is the Copper Creek PUD. Currently, we hold bonds for both the roadways and the sidewalks. 8 of the 31 lots are completed and 4 are currently under construction. Both bond amounts can be reduced. The roadway can be reduced to $17,576 and the sidewalks to $27,045.
Any questions for staff concerning the bond report? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve as presented.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the bond report as submitted.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the bond report as presented, say yes.
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 Any opposed? Bond report is approved. The next item is the 7 Brew Coffee Site Plan. Mr. Bishop.
Yes, sir. 7 Brew Coffee Site Plan submitted by Cerebus Incorporated for the property located in the city of Henderson at 205 Highway 41 North, being parcel ID number 55D-19. The applicants are requesting site plan approval. The Plan Commission members may remember that this site was before us at last month's meeting for a rezoning. This is the location of the former Grandy's Restaurant that you can see on the screen. That building will be demolished and a new 510 square feet building used as a drive-through restaurant and a 280 square foot cooler is proposed to be constructed. The applicant has proposed 285 of linear feet of 6-foot privacy fence to the residential structure to the northwest of the site. The applicant is also proposing to improve the entrance on 41 North and create a new entrance onto Parkway Street. Staff would recommend approval subject to bonding in the amount of $10,136 for the privacy fence and a consolidation plat as well.
Better be damn good coffee.
Okay, any questions from the commission for staff?
Brian, what was the bonding amount again for the fencing?
That would be $10,136, sir. And Commissioner Richard, that screening is required by the City of Henderson zoning ordinance. That bond amount was provided to us by City Code Administrator, Mr. Steve Davis, and I believe that would fulfill the requirement of the zoning.
Other questions? Anyone else or anybody? I want to give everybody a chance. Very good. If there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion in regard to the 7 Drew Coffee site plan as presented.
I'll make a motion that the site plan be for 7 Brew Coffee be approved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. We need to add the subject twos. What were they again, Mr. Bishop?
A consolidation plat, and then bonding in the amount of $10,136 for the proposed screening along the northwest property.
Good. Would you agree to amend your motion, sir, to include that?
Yes.
And the second?
Yes.
Okay, now we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Heather Tays.
Yes.
Frank Boyette.
Yes.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Stacy Ditton. Yes. Gary Gibson.
Yes.
Dickie Johnson.
Yes.
XR Royster.
Yes.
Mac Arnold.
Yes.
Bobby Jarrett.
Yes.
Kevin Richard.
Yes.
Very good, the motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, may I have a moment to recuse myself?
Yes. Okay, we've got the next 2 items are concerning Braxton Park subdivision. First item being Section 3 preliminary plat. Ms. Marks.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would propose that we hear both of these kind of in the same breath and then make 2 motions if you all are okay with that.
I think that'd be fine.
Okay. So the first part is Braxton Park subdivision, Section 3 preliminary plat submitted by H Properties LLC. John Hodge for the property located in the city of Peterson at Hartford Glen Trace, being parcel ID number 74-83, containing approximately 7.705 acres. Applicants are requesting preliminary plat approval. And then the second part of this would be Braxton Park subdivision, Section 4 preliminary plat submitted by H Properties LLC, John Hodge for the property located in the city of Henderson at Sandcastle Drive, being parcel ID number 74-83, containing approximately 3.078 acres. Applicants are requesting preliminary plat approval. As I'm sure you guys remember, we did discuss these. It's been a little bit of time, but the engineer and the developer have now come forward with their preliminary plats and their related construction drawings to move forward with this development. As a quick reminder, on this map here, you can see the 2 different colors. So a portion of the submitted preliminary plat for Section 3 is going to be covered in an R2 zone, and then the front section there in the yellow is going to be the R1 zone. And then I know it's not clearly on this one, but Section 4 is going to be back this way in an R2 zone as well.
Those zones have been established.
Yes. Yes, so for Section 3, the developer is proposing 15 lots in the R2 zone area. I know it's hard to see on this map, but that zone line falls about right here. And so these back here are the R2. Again, 15 lots. The sizes of those lots are ranging from 7,492, square feet to 27,000 square feet. The difference in that, of course, are the lots that are back here to the on the cul-de-sac. 13 of the lots within this so this would be this front section here for R1, and those lot sizes are ranging from 10,600 square feet to 21,700 square feet, for a total of 28 new lots in this area here. To get you kind of acclimated, this is Culpeper, Hartford Glen that comes down here, and then this would be the addition of that Section 3. There would be bonding amounts associated with this, as there are significant infrastructure improvements that are needed. I did print those out and put them in front of you all because it's a lot of numbers, but for the record, we'll read them in. So for Section 3, the bonding amount per roadway is $313,130. Sidewalks is $68,320. Signage would be $300. and that is paid to Public Works, not specifically within our bond that we hold. Water would be $200,693. Sewer, $172,330. Stormwater would be $120,722. And as a reminder, all the public infrastructure will have to be built or bonded before a final plat will be recorded for this section here. And then if you guys don't have any questions in section 3, we'll move to section 4.
Any questions on the first section? Okay, please proceed.
Okay. And we read that in. So again, this is that back portion of section 4. So now we're at this side of Hartman Land and then Sandcastle Drive. So you can see how the lots are laid out. So these lots are all in the R2 zone. It's going to be 6 lots in total, ranging from sizes 10,100 square feet to 1.7 acres. There is significant infrastructure improvement through this one as well. And so I can read those bond numbers in whenever you guys are ready for those. Those are in front of you as well. But again, all infrastructure will either have to be built or bonded before any final plats are recorded. The bond amounts for this section are roadways, $54,000, sidewalks, $9,500, excuse me, water, $47,712, sewer, $38,580, storm, $14,904.
Okay. We are dealing with only those lots that surround the cul-de-sac.
Yes, it's right here.
It's a very large lot there.
Hey, Jennifer, I did have one question on, so that flag of land that connects to the road frontage, it's hard to see from the print. Do you know what the width of that flag is?
And the engineer as well as the developer here, if you have more technical in nature questions, I can zoom in on that real quick. Moves really slow. We'll see there. It looks like it is 24 feet. 24 feet. Of course, your building setback line, you'll notice here, starts once it gets to the width required for that. So that's why you'll see the 25 building setback line back here.
Right now, that's just one large lot.
Yes.
Not involved in this proposal this evening whatsoever.
No, it is. This is one of the 6 lots.
Okay. So
Yes.
it's not just around the cul-de-sac.
Yes. Oh, well, yes. I
Okay.
apologize for that.
Good. I guess if I could ask, I just want to confirm that's only a 25-foot wide strip of land, so if somebody could speak to that.
We'll have the engineer come up since
Okay.
that's,
Thank you. Your name, sir?
Andy Weaver,
And your address?
1535 Frederica Street, Owensboro, Kentucky.
And you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Good, thank you. Thanks for your help.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 24-foot wide strip that leads back to the large lot.
I can't remember, what's the reg in an R2 for?
Steve Davis, would you like to
Steve,
come
speak to
forward
that.
and what the required road frontage is for R2?
Width.
Yeah, the width, yeah.
Not the road frontage.
Yeah, well, it'd be the same as the road frontage.
Yeah. Well, the lot width is gonna be discussed, that's what I was mentioning when you get to here, so it would have to be at the point that it gets to that.
I guess, long story short, Steve, I just want to confirm that's in compliance
It has to be.
with R2
Name?
subdivision.
Good. Name, please?
Steve Davis.
Your address?
1990 Berry Court, Suite B.
Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very good. Question?
Yes, a question.
So I just want to confirm that's just a narrow little sliver. Is that in compliance with R2 zoning subdivision?
What the zoning regulations say, schedule regulations in Article 27, for an R2, the minimum lot area has to be 7,000. So as far as road frontage, I don't really know how that plays in, I'll be honest.
I just want to make sure there was no,
Yeah.
I didn't remember there being a stipulation. That's why I just wanted to clarify there wasn't any stipulation that could be brought up at a later point that was out of compliance, so.
Yes.
what's your minimum width for a subdivision? Frontage on a public road?
That would be the subdivision regs, wouldn't it?
The road frontage is covered under zoning regulations.
Okay, well, as far as,
Not to subdivide a lot.
we don't really make a differentiation between any lots, really, in the city.
Isn't it 50 foot?
In the county, we have the 50 foot.
Yeah, that's the county. I really don't know that we make a differentiation.
That's what, I just wanted to make sure, if this came up at a future point, we had asked this question, that there was nothing out of compliance.
It's a good question to ask, yeah.
Okay.
I'll look in the definitions to see if there's anything, but I'm not aware of anything as far as minimum lot.
But you know what the required road frontage for a lot is.
As far as road frontage,
Could be different.
it doesn't really specify frontage on our regulations. I mean, it's
If I come in and I want to cut a lot out of a farm, it's just in the city, okay, how much frontage do I have to have on a public road?
that may be something I'd have to get back with you on. I don't
We deal with it every day.
We don't in the city. Typically, the city minimum lot frontage is our schedule of regulations. Just gives me, it's not something we can look up like that.
You have to have something to go by, Steve.
Probably do.
What's the minimum lot width?
Yeah, we can do the minimum lot width,
There you go.
but that's not frontage necessarily.
Well, I mean,
It's minimum lot width that fronts on a public street.
It's actually at the required front yard setback line.
Leave your road.
So that's not really frontage. I mean, we can, what we do in the city, we say that there's a minimum lot width at the required front setback line. So you can have, there's no designation on how thin a little flag you can have going to that section.
No, in the subdivision regulations, I'm sure you all are aware that we do have the language regarding flag lots. And the 2/3 or I would have to pull it up, I don't want to quote something wrong, but we do have that, and that is if the leg for the flagpole is significantly longer than what the actual lot itself would be. And that's just not something that we would look at here because it's not that, but I know you guys have seen in the county especially. We have those that have the really long flagpole, but yeah, so when it comes to looking at county lots, we do have that road frontage, and you guys are aware, but in the city itself, we talk about the lot width.
I can tell you what the lot width for an R2 is. The minimum lot width for a one-family unit is 60 feet, but that's at the front yard setback line.
Yeah, where's the front yard setback line?
Well, in an R2, the front yard setback line would be 25 feet.
So it's this line here that says 25.
Okay. So that meets the description?
From our definition, I think it does. I know it, I mean, we don't really have a specific definition for the street frontage. That's not something we normally deal with in subdivisions. In the city, I know in the county, you have farmland that's divided up in 100 different ways, and you have that issue. We typically don't.
And like I said, I wouldn't try to make this difficult, I just went and make sure we covered all of our bases, so that if we approved this,
Yeah.
it didn't come back to us at some later point that you approved something that was out of compliance.
Yeah,
So
I want to make
that's why
sure
I
that
just wanted to double check.
we're giving you exactly what you're asking for, too. I mean, we don't necessarily have that definition from what I understand.
But this road going back into this cul-de-sac, now, I think the question was asked, how wide is that road?
This, and it's 24.
24
But
foot.
the
Is
engineer
that-
did get up to.
Under the codes in the city? 24
Yeah,
feet?
you don't have to have a 24-foot driveway. I mean, they can pave from property line to property line. That could be a 24-foot driveway going back there.
Is that adequate for fire equipment and stuff?
That's not my, I can't answer that question. That's something that you have to talk to the fire department about, the city fire department.
Okay.
But, I mean, I can't answer that one, sorry.
I will provide that in for our land development committee meeting. We did not receive any comments from fire if they did or did not have issues with this. So.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for this gentleman?
No, I didn't mean to belabor the point, I just wanted to double check.
I'm glad to help
We need to
however I
cover
can.
them all.
That was a difficult question, sorry, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody's good?
I think.
So, as far as staff concerned, these preliminary plats that we are considered here, as far as all the technical expertise that has been applied, all the utilities and et cetera that look at these things, that they've all been approved.
Yes, they are the ones that provide these bonding numbers, but I have spoke with both the city engineer as well as water utility engineer, and they are good with this moving forward to this point. And then if there are other, kind of behind the scenes, smaller technical things, from their standpoint, they're good with the preliminary plats that's submitted.
Okay, if these preliminary plats should be approved this evening, will this development come back to us at some point?
It will not, because final plats are done in-house once they submit those.
Okay, very good. Thanks for your help. Any other questions for staff? Anyone else want to share anything this evening? Thanks for your help. Okay, I think we decided we're going to try to deal with this with two separate motions. Okay, I'll entertain a motion in regard to Braxton Park subdivision, section 3 preliminary plat.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Braxton Park subdivision, section 3. Preliminary plat submitted by H Properties LLC, CO John Hodge, for property located at Harpeth Glen Trace, PID number 74-83, subject to bonding for roadways of an amount of $313,130, sidewalks $68,320, signage $300, water $200,693, sewer for $172,330, and stormwater prevention $120,722.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Kevin Richard.
Yes.
Bobby Jarrett.
Yes.
Mac Arnold.
Yes.
XR Royster.
Yes.
Dickie Johnson.
Yes.
Gary Gibson.
Yes.
Stacy Denton.
Yes.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Frank Boyette.
Yes.
Heather Tays.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. I will entertain a motion in regard, unless there's questions about this second. I think this is number 4 up here on the screen. Any other questions regarding this portion? I'll entertain a motion in regard to Braxton Park subdivision, section 4 preliminary plat.
Well, I'm on a roll, so I'll also offer a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Braxton Park subdivision, section 4, submitted by H Properties LLC, CO John Hodge, for property located in the city of Henderson at Sandcastle Drive, PID number 74-83, subject to bonding for roadways of $54,000, sidewalks of $9,500, water $47,712, sewer for $38,580, and stormwater for $14,904.
Second on that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Heather Tays.
Yes.
Frank Boyette.
Yes.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Stacy Denton.
Yes.
Gary Gibson.
Yes.
Dickie Johnson.
Yes.
XR Royster.
Yes.
Mac Arnold.
Yes.
Bobby Jarrett.
Yes.
Kevin Richard.
Yes.
Very good, motion passes. Thank you. Could somebody step out? Ryan, there he is. We have administrative business. Anybody have anything?
Mr. Chairman, may I address Commissioner Arnold's question earlier?
Yes.
About the setback. If the Planning Commission is agreeable to it, staff will reach out to the county judge and county attorney and see if there's an appetite to change that ordinance or to increase that setback. If you guys are okay with that, we will start that process.
Or whatever's, if they think, having someone that's complaining about this, I just thought if you are, whatever you want to go with, but that makes it easier.
Counselor?
I certainly don't make policy, but you need to think about, there are times that you might not can get cell coverage unless you get a cell tower closer than that to a structure, to a residence. It's something that was dealt with by the planning commission in my very early days. Bobby would
We had some
remember.
knockdown drag outs.
You remember.
Yes, I do. A lot of this legal terminology that they'll come up with, come up because of our planning commission's refusal.
So you have to think about, you don't have to, but I recommend that you think about more than the situation we saw tonight. Because if you make the distance too great, you can be denying cell phone coverage to a lot of citizens. And again, I don't make policy. I'm not trying to get you to make it smaller. I'm asking you to think about it.
Yeah. I'd be interested to find out, engineering-wise, what kind of specifications would they have on that? I mean, I realize it's not that, it's how far out that tower is gonna kick out a signal from that point. And I'm sure that must have been from there to, say, Bill's, you know, if it's back 200 feet, maybe it drops the signal down so enough that it would affect.
I just want to make sure we addressed your question or concern that came up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that, you know, if that's something that we were interested in doing, that we could either do that, if that would help satisfy people in the future if they're, have that concern. But I don't want to bite ourselves in the foot too with making it too difficult where we can't get cell towers located anywhere, but.
You know, some of the metropolitan areas in Kentucky, I would think that you could make a phone call and just say, you know, what do y'all have on setbacks on cell towers? See if we're out of line with what other metropolitan areas in Kentucky.
No, we just didn't want to undertake that if there was not a desire from the planning commission to do.
Yeah.
Is that the commission's desire?
I think we should.
Well, we also got to remember, we got cell towers in the city of Henderson. And you can't get no more heavier population than that. So, no. They gonna put.
Well, that's the reason why we have that many of them, is to reach all the population. And I guess, like I say, I don't know what the signal strength is out in that area, but, you know, if it's down, I know where I live, I get only half a bar. Yes, it is. So, you know.
No, we get, down there in Cardin, we get good service on AT&T. But we got a tower on about 2.5 miles outside of town.
Yeah.
So they got for AT&T. Now, Horizon's not on that tower.
Right.
And my daughter got Horizon here in Henderson. A whole lot of times she can't even get to us.
In the tower that you're talking about, I can remember asking the question to the engineer. I said, how far does it reach out? He says, 5 miles.
Yeah.
Radius. That's 2.5 miles. That's basically that. Their concentration is.
They've reduced it though because they're pushing out a lot more
bandwidth.
Yeah, a lot more bandwidth.
So would the commission be agreeable to us asking staff to do two things? One, approach county government and see if there's anything they would even want us to do. This is the county's ordinance and fiscal court would have to amend it, right?
Correct. Well, we can originate the zoning text amendment either here or there. It has been our policy that we prefer that text amendments originate with the legislative bodies because, as Mr. Friday said, we don't set policy and they do.
Okay. We would, our
We
role,
said some.
Yeah. But in this case, it was if they even have the desire to address it.
yeah, but our role in that would be to hold the public hearing and gather that, right? So, would ascertain whether that's something that they would potentially want us to do at some point in the future, and perhaps do some legwork as far as what other ordinances in Kentucky, how they address this matter. That's agreeable to everybody?
Yeah.
If I got a problem with it,
Commission.
we need to vote? Okay, let's just do it.
I think we got the message.
Okay, good. Any other administrative business?
No, sir.
Any other business of any kind? Anybody here this evening would like to bring something forward? Anybody on the commission wants to add to the proceedings? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of adjournment, say yes. Yes. Any opposed? Any opposed? Very good. We stand adjourned. Thank you all very much.